guess what? Guess what? I put out a new book. I published a new book in December, and it was launched in January. And I can say that this writers group is a catalyst for this. You have been such an inspiration to me, and I realized that I could not just be a one-horse pony, right? And I'm actually going to be, hopefully, going to be putting out publishing my third book. I want to do it for my 75th birthday next year. So,
Yeah.
and I just want to thank you all for, being such an inspirational group. Now, the second book, the first book was a book called Retirement and New Adventure. And it was really pitched for persons who either pre-retirees or retirees. And basically saying, come on, guys, stay active, stay engaged, do things. This second book is called Retirement, the Journey and the Destination, a planning guide, and it is pitched for a younger cohort, the almost 40s and into 40s, where I'm saying, hey, listen, guys, this thing about retirement, don't wait until you're 65 and then you start thinking about it. You have to start thinking about it and planning for it from now. So that is a whole. So basically, I'm saying to them, listen, you at your age now, at 39 and 40, you need to be looking at yourself, projecting yourself at 65 and 70. How do you want to be? What do you want to be like? How do you want your life to be? And then you need to start planning for it in order to get to that destination. Otherwise, if you don't, then your life is going to be totally different from how you would want to be, and perhaps not even as good. So in the first chapter of the book, I was very candid. I talked about, my own experience, and I'm going to read now from that first chapter. I often share the story of my own financial unpreparedness when I embarked on retirement at age 63. Honestly, I had never given much thought to the prospect of retirement before I found myself faced with the necessity of leaving my full-time career. I had never attended a retirement planning seminar or workshop. I had never had a retirement focused discussion with a financial advisor. I had never made an assessment of the long-term adequacy of my resources, whether financial or otherwise. All I knew about retirement came from observing my mother. She was a retired teacher, happily living an active and fulfilling life for many years after leaving the classroom. It was a good look, and somehow I took it for granted that when I reached retirement age, my life would mirror hers. Then I was hit with a serious bout of illness. In the interest of my health, I decided to leave the working world to opt for a less demanding lifestyle. At the time, I was blissfully unaware of how financially unprepared I was for retirement. Now that I have had the chance to reflect on the lives of my parents, I understand that they put suitable retirement plans in place before my father's death. This is what allowed my mother's seamless transition into retirement. I made no such preparations. As an ardent sports lover for much of my working life, I saw any accumulation of funds in my bank account as an opportunity to attend a big ticket international sporting event. The Summer Olympics, World Cup football, World Cup cricket, US Open tennis were my regular ports of call. Funds that I should have channeled into a retirement plan were used to secure premium seats to watch the world's finest sporting stars in action. In retrospect, I realized my lifestyle bore a strong resemblance to that of the biblical prodigal son, except that my riotous living involved more wholesome and morally acceptable entertainment. What has allowed me to adapt despite my lack of conscious planning has been the wealth of knowledge and experience I built up during my professional life. The extensive portfolio of competencies and skills I had acquired through multicultural, social, and creative pursuits were the currency I had to mitigate the effects of my inadequate preparation. My current situation could easily have been different had I not had this bank of knowledge, experience, creative competence, and unique skills to draw on. Instead, I harnessed these attributes and combined them with life lessons learned over the first 5 years of my retirement journey to produce my first book, Retirement: A New Adventure. And then I go on to, talk a little bit more. So what I wanted to do was to set the stage for persons who were going to read it right in the first chapter, to really get them to understand the importance and the urgency of doing this thing. Okay, making the plans. Now, in chapter 7, the second section of the book, where I talk about some of the critical ingredients that you need in your retirement planning. I talk about the traditional sources of funding, the pension and all of that, the investments and savings and so on. But I also wanted to give people an understanding that the, the competencies that you have built up over the years can still work for you, right? Life is not over. You're not just that pension payment. You don't have to depend on that only. And even if you find that there is a little gap there, you can bridge the gap by doing other things. So this chapter here is called Working to Bridge Your Retirement Funding Gaps. And this section, maintain a less demanding work schedule. Many are continuing to work longer than previous generations, whether for money or because they perceive themselves as younger than people in their 60s and 70s used to be. One strategy to continue working in your later years is downshifting. That means taking on work assignments that are less complicated and demanding than those assignments you performed before retirement. Downshifting comes with reduced pressure, much less stress, and an improved ability to balance leisure and work. For example, there are small businesses and sole proprietors who could use some low-level accounting assistance to ensure they produce basic financial reports to secure lines of credit and meet statutory filing obligations. A retired chartered accountant or certified accountant can downshift and take on these lower level accounting tasks with little difficulty. Non-profit organizations and small professional service businesses may require clerical assistance to handle their communications and administrative needs. Doctors practicing out of multiple locations may need an administrative presence in a particular location to handle routine calls, book appointments, maintain patient records, and handle incoming and outgoing correspondence. A retired office manager or executive secretary is well qualified to streamline these processes and inject efficiency and order into such office environments. A retired police officer can transition from the rough and tumble duties of chasing and apprehending criminals to a cushy position as a loss prevention or claims officer in a corporate setting. There, his investigative skills and insight may enhance the organization's ability to reduce losses from theft and fraud. So, right. So what I'm doing in this book is I am offering suggestions, offering solutions, and these are practical suggestions and practical solutions because these are things that even I myself am doing because I do low-level accounting work for people. I was a chartered accountant. I do low-level accounting work for people, file my friends and church brothers and sisters tax returns and do that and get paid for it. And then I also talk about turning hobbies into income. And I have that whole section there where I talk about that, because this is something that I also do. As an organist, I'm now getting paid. Before, I was not getting paid to play for church because I didn't charge. But now that I'm in retirement, I get paid to play for church. So, so the book itself really has some practical suggestions. And what it does is it tells people that if you really sit down now and your your future, your journey towards retirement, then when you get to that destination, you are going to be happier, healthier, and in terrific shape.
And Miss
So,
Patricia, as you're winding down, I'd love for you to share with them about your lovely newsletter in the next, you have about 30 minutes, 30 seconds. Uh,
oh, okay, and that is what I have done. I started a newsletter and a monthly newsletter, and I know that some of you are contributors to it, subscribers to it, where I just do something related to retirement, related to life, to living. The whole theme is happier and healthier retirement, going towards it. So, for instance, this last newsletter here, last month, was dealt with the sleep deprivation. Because people are sending messages at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and not sleeping. So I had a doctor who I taught in high school, one of my high school students. He's a doctor, and I had him do an article on sleep deprivation. So, and I deal with different topics, wills, powers of attorneys, and you name it. So yes. Uh, so that's it. So thank you all for listening. I will put um I will put in the chat there the link to the newsletter. And what you have to do is, once you sign up, you have to go back into your email address, into your email, either inbox or junk mail, and find the confirmation email. And if you confirm, then you will be in, and it's free.
Family,
Morning.
writers group, and fellow authors. Blessed day. I'm excited to be here. Thank God. So, I want to talk about my latest book, The Biker and the Dancer. It's a romance novel. And I want to stress that I kind of come out of the box in its publication because I thought it's better to have it published with a traditional publisher, and I kind of lose a lot of the rights to the book because of the route I took, because I didn't have the money to publish it. So most of the rights are not mine, but it is better to be in print than on the computer, and that's what I thought. And I say, I'm doing the God math that after putting out my bread on the water, God will smile on it, and by faith, restore, you know, money or royalties to me. So I have this publishing company in India, do the book, and that's really coming out of my comfort zone. And I had some instances that caused me to have panic and concern when some things were not going right. But praise be to God, God helped me through, and it's in print. So the premise of the book is a backsliding young Christian man. His engagement broke up with his high school sweetheart, and he turned against God. And so he's a son of a Baptist minister. And he went to New York, and there he forged a relationship with a ballerina. Now she's a Jewish young lady, and he's Christian. So uh, the back of the book, it says, a persistent meeting in a gym between a ballerina and a biker forged a way to connect two cultures and break stereotype. It became a life-changing experience because what they hear is to stick with your kind and do not cause trouble in the family. And just that phrase alone, many people have heard those phrases where you see two people of different culture, different race come together either as friends or intended marriage, and people in the family is against it. An Indian woman marrying a Caucasian, a black woman marrying a white, a Caucasian, stuff like that. People from economical background, a prince marrying a young girl who is not rich from a poor village, you name it. So Ekaterina, the young girl, is Jewish and Paul is Christian. So those words were coming from a close relative. But would they choose to defy the odds and trust their arts? So that is the premise of the story and the back of it. And I don't know if anyone in your family have faced with such thing, and and they persist, and their love affair, they get married. The young Jewish girl was exposed to the Christian religion and she becomes saved. So that's the premise of the book. So I will just read a little part of it. Next morning, as Paul walked in the plaza gym, he could not help but wonder if the lady he met in the elevator lived there. He faithfully worked out in the gym on Sundays as it was his day off. He was about 2 hours in working out when Faith would have it, he saw her from across the room. She lives here, he said to himself with excitement. She was dressed in gym workout gear. Why haven't I seen her here before? He thought. Paul now realized that he must find a way to say something to her. He watched her for a while and realized that she was alone riding a bike in the gym. Then he got up and walked by her. Hi, he said. You are the lady from the elevator. My name is Paul. I am the building manager here. Do you live here? Yes, I am a Katerina. My friends call me Kat. I live here. Nice to meet you, Kat, Paul whispered, walking away. When he got to the door, he looked back at her and asked, Can I be one of your friends, Kat? She looked up and smiled at him without saying a word. That was enough for Paul. He considered himself her friend already. So that's a little snippet of the storyline in the book, The Biker and the Dancer. It's available on Amazon through Nook. The paperback is $12.99 and the ebook is $5.99. So that's the premise of the story. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. It's a romance story, right?
You know,
So we all have to find the love in our lives. Love that. And you've been doing a lot of stuff going into India, trying to get your stuff out and all. Thank you so much for sharing what you have been up to. And I like what she did, Dr. Hooks, because I always seem to hear, I always seem to hear